Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we aren't just opening a case file, we are stepping into a labyrinth.
We really are.
We're heading back to Northern California, late 1960s. The summer of love is kind of fading, the Altamont concert disaster is looming, and in the shadows of the Bay Area, something incredibly dark is taking shape.
It's a fascinating specific moment in time. You have this counterculture movement of peace and flowers,
Yeah.
and then running parallel to it is this phantom who represents the exact opposite.
Exactly. A figure who didn't just kill, but treated murder like a multimedia marketing campaign.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
So that is what we are unpacking today. We are talking about the Zodiac. And if you're listening to this, you probably know the name, you know the crosshair symbol. But the stack of reports, letters, and analysis we have today, it paints a picture that goes way beyond the standard true crime story. This wasn't just a serial killer. This was a terrorist who held the state of California hostage with a pen and paper.
That's the distinction, isn't it? Most serial killers operate in silence. They want to stay hidden to keep killing.
Right.
The Zodiac wanted to be seen. He wanted to be a celebrity. And the frustrating part, the reason we are still talking about this over 50 years later, is that he succeeded. He became, arguably the most famous unsolved mystery in American history.
So our mission today is to look at the mechanism of that terror. How did he manipulate the press? How did he taunt the police? And why, despite having partial DNA, fingerprints, and this massive suspect list, is the file still officially open?
It's the question that haunts every single detective who ever worked the case. We have so many puzzle pieces, but they never quite fit together to form a single face.
So let's go back to the source material. To understand the brand of the Zodiac, we have to look at the escalation. And it doesn't start in San Francisco. It starts in the quiet, dark corners of Benicia, December 20th, 1968.
This is Lake Herman Road.
Oh.
And for context, this isn't a highway. It's a secluded spot, pitch black at night, known locally as a lover's lane.
Right. It's where teenagers went to be alone.
Exactly.
And you have David Faraday, 17, and Betty Lou Jensen, 16. It was actually their first official date. They're parked in a station wagon, probably just talking. And then another car pulls up alongside them.
And this is where the timeline officially begins. The reports indicate the killer didn't just walk up and shoot. He forced them out. He actually fired shots into the car to panic them.
The forensics are just brutal here. Faraday was shot point blank in the head, likely as he was getting out of the car. And Betty Lou Jensen, she managed to run. She made it about 30 feet, but she was shot 5 times in the back.
It was an execution.
Yeah.
But here's the critical context for you listening. At the time, nobody whispered serial killer.
Yeah.
The police looked at this as a tragedy, sure, but a local one.
Yeah.
Maybe a drug deal gone wrong.
Yeah.
Or a jealous ex-boyfriend.
Or they had no reason to connect dots that didn't exist yet. It was just a horrific, isolated event. And the killer went dormant for 6 months, nothing, until Independence Day, 1969.
July 4th. And we moved to Vallejo, specifically Blue Rock Springs Park. It's eerily similar to the first crime scene.
Another secluded parking lot late at night.
Another young couple, Darlene Farron and Michael Mageau.
And the method, it sort of evolves here. A car pulls up behind them, blocking them in. The driver gets out. But he doesn't just start shooting. He walks up to the window and shines this high-powered flashlight right into their eyes.
Which is a classic tactical move. It blinds the victims. Michael Mageau actually told police later that he reached for his ID because he thought it was a cop checking on them.
Wow. Instead, the man opens fire with a 9mm Luger. It's just chaos. Both Darlene and Michael are hit multiple times. The killer starts to walk away, hears Michael moan, comes back, and shoots them again.
Now, 2 things happen here that change the entire trajectory of this case. First, the killer makes a mistake.
Michael Mageau survives.
Michael Mageau survives. He is shot in the jaw, shoulder, and leg, but he lives. He becomes the first person to give us a description of the man in the shadows.
But the second thing, this is where the Zodiac persona is truly born. It's not the shooting itself, it's what happens 40 minutes later.
The phone call.
The Vallejo Police Department gets a call from a payphone just a few blocks from the station. The dispatcher picks up, and the voice on the other end is described as low, monotonous, almost rehearsed.
And he says, I want to report a double murder. He gives the location, but then, and this is the part that gives me chills every time I read the transcript, he adds, I also killed those kids last year.
He's claiming credit.
Yes.
He's connecting Blue Rock Springs to Lake Herman Road.
Precisely. This is the moment he stops being a random murderer and starts being a performative villain. He realized killing wasn't enough to satisfy his ego. He needed the police to know he was the one outsmarting them. He was building a resume.
And that resume went public very, very quickly. This is where the media campaign starts. Less than a month later, 3 letters arrive at 3 different newspapers.
The San Francisco Chronicle, the San Francisco Examiner, and the Vallejo Times-Herald.
And these weren't just, catch me if you can notes. They were transactional. He demanded that each paper publish his letter on the front page.
Publish this or I will kill again. That was the threat. He claimed he would cruise around all weekend killing solitary people in the night.
And inside these envelopes, he included the first cipher, the famous 408 cipher.
Yeah, he sent 1/3 of the code to each newspaper. He claimed that if you cracked it, his identity was inside.
Can you imagine the atmosphere in the Bay Area? You open your morning paper and there is this block of gibberish symbols, Greek letters, weather symbols, Morse code dots, and a serial killer says, "My name is in here."
It was mass hysteria.
Yeah.
The FBI tried to crack it. Naval intelligence took a swing at it. But, and I love this detail because it shows the power of the public, it wasn't the government that solved it.
No. It was a high school teacher, Donald Hardin, and his wife Betty down in Salinas. They just sat at their kitchen table with pencil and paper.
And Betty actually had the breakthrough. She assumed the killer had a massive ego, so she guessed the message would start with the word I.
Smart.
And she looked for a pattern that fit the word kill, or killing.
And she was right. They cracked it in a weekend. But when they translated the message, well, let's talk about what it actually said, because it's disturbing.
It's a window into a very broken mind. It starts with, I like killing people because it is so much fun. He goes on to say it's more fun than killing wild game in the forest because man is the most dangerous animal of all.
That's a reference to the short story, The Most Dangerous Game, right?
It certainly seems that way. But then he pivots to this weird, twisted theology. He claims that the people he kills will become his slaves in the afterlife.
Right. He's collecting souls for his own paradise.
Exactly.
But notice what was missing. The Hardins decode this whole thing, waiting for the name, and
no name. He explicitly mocks them in the text. He writes, I will not give you my name because you will try to slow down or stop my collecting of slaves.
So he lied. The whole thing was a game. He made the entire state dance to his tune, solve his puzzle, and then he pulled the rug out.
It was a power trip. Pure and simple. And this is when he sends the next letter and officially debuts the name. This is the Zodiac speaking. That phrase became his trademark.
So now he has a name, he has a logo, the crosshair symbol, and he has the public's attention. But the violence hasn't stopped. In fact, it gets stranger.
Oh, yeah.
We have to talk about Lake Berryessa, September 27, 1969.
This attack stands out as the outlier. Up until now, it's been late nights, parked cars, sudden shootings. Lake Berryessa is in the daylight. It's a relaxing afternoon.
You have Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard. They're college students having a picnic, and they see a man watching them from the trees. When he approaches, he isn't just a guy with a gun. He is wearing a costume.
The visual is straight out of a horror movie, literally. He's wearing a black executioner-style hood with a square top. It has a bib coming down over his chest, and stitched on that bib, in white, is the Zodiac crosshair symbol.
He's wearing his own brand, and he has clip-on sunglasses over the eye holes of the hood.
It's just so theatrical. He wants to be terrifying. And unlike the quick attacks before, he talks to them. He spins this elaborate lie about being an escaped convict from a prison in Montana.
He says he killed a guard and needs their car and money to get to Mexico.
Right, and that's a huge point of debate. Why lie?
He has a gun. He has all the power.
The consensus is that it was a ruse to get them to comply with being tied up. If the victims think, oh, he just wants the car, if we cooperate, we live, they're less likely to fight back.
Makes sense.
He orders Cecilia to tie up Brian with plastic clothesline, and then he ties up Cecilia.
And once they are helpless, the story ends. He puts the gun away and draws a knife.
And the violence shifts from impersonal shooting to just intimate, brutal stabbing. He stabbed Brian 6 times and Cecilia 10 times. It was overkill. It was pure rage.
Brian Hartnell played dead and miraculously survived. Cecilia Shepard fought, but she died days later in the hospital. But before the Zodiac left, he did something that proves he was thinking about the big picture of his crime spree.
He left a receipt. He walked over to Brian's car, a Carmen Ghia, took out a black felt-tip pen, and wrote on the car door.
He wrote the dates of the previous murders, Vallejo, December 20, July 4, and then the time of the current attack. Sep 27, 6.30, by knife.
He was logging his work.
Yeah.
He wanted to make sure the police knew that the guy who shot the kids in Vallejo was the same guy who stabbed the kids at the lake. He was proving his versatility.
It's chilling to think of him taking the time to write that while his victims are screaming for help just yards away. But he wasn't done. 2 weeks later, he changes the game again. He leaves the rural outskirts and comes right into the city, San Francisco.
October 11th, 1969. Presidio Heights. This is a wealthy, dense neighborhood. The target is Paul Stine, the taxi driver.
And this murder is the one that frustrates me the most because the police were so close.
Painfully close.
They almost had him.
So the Zodiac hails the cab, takes it to Washington and Cherry Streets, and shoots Paul Stine once in the head. But he doesn't run immediately. Witnesses, 3 teenagers in a house across the street, watch him.
They see him in the front seat. They see him handling the body, wiping down the dashboard, the door handle.
Trying to remove fingerprints.
Ah!
And they see him cut a piece of Paul Stine's blood-soaked shirt.
The kids call the police while he is still there. The dispatch goes out. Patrol cars are minutes away. But then, the blunder.
The tragic game of telephone. The dispatcher sends out an alert for a black male suspect. We still don't know exactly how that mix-up happened.
But the Zodiac is white, so you have police officers looking for the wrong guy.
Exactly. Officer Don Fook and Eric Zelms are patrolling nearby. They see a stocky white man with glasses walking away from the scene. Fook later admitted they slowed down. They looked at him. But because the radio said black male, they didn't stop him. They just continued on toward the crime scene.
That man was the Zodiac.
Almost certainly. He walked into the darkness of the Presidio Park and vanished. If that radio dispatch had been correct, the Zodiac case likely ends right there on the sidewalk in 1969.
And naturally, he couldn't resist rubbing it in their faces.
Of course not. A few days later, the Chronicle receives another letter. And inside the envelope is a piece of that bloody shirt.
The ultimate I told you so.
He wrote, "I was walking right past the police, and they didn't even know it." That piece of shirt was the proof. It linked him to the murder unequivocally.
After the Stine murder, the confirmed killings stop. But the terror, it actually ramps up. He realized he didn't need to pull a trigger to hurt people.
He just needed to threaten them. This is the shift to psychological warfare. He sent a letter threatening a school bus. He wrote that he would just pick off the kiddies as they come bouncing out.
I can't imagine being a parent in the Bay Area then.
It caused absolute chaos. Police escorts for buses, armed guards, helicopters flying over schools. He held the entire educational system hostage without firing a single shot. He realized fear was just as effective as murder for getting attention.
And he kept sending ciphers. We have to talk about the 340 cipher. The 408 was solved in days. The 340 took 51 years.
The 340 was a beast. It wasn't cracked until 2020 by a team led by David Oranchak. And the reason it was so hard is that the Zodiac didn't just use substitution symbols, he used a transposition scheme. He wrote the message diagonally across the grid.
Wow.
You had to read it in a very specific, complex pattern to make any sense of it.
So for 50 years, the world thought, his name is in there, the location of a bomb is in there. What did it actually say?
It was. Well, it was more of the same. I hope you're having lots of fun and trying to catch me. He mentions a TV show where someone called in pretending to be him. He reiterates that he isn't afraid of the gas chamber because it will just send him to paradise sooner.
So even from the past, he's still trolling us. No name, just ego.
Just ego. It highlights that he was playing a long game. He knew exactly how to keep us hooked.
Which leads us to the final piece of the puzzle, the who. If we have the letters, the shirt, the descriptions, partial DNA from saliva on the stamps, surely there were suspects.
There were thousands. But one name always rises to the top. Arthur Leigh Allen. You've seen the movie Zodiac. That's the guy they focus on.
And the circumstantial evidence against Allen is staggering. Let's just, list some of it.
He lived in Vallejo, minutes from the first murders. He was a convicted child molester, so the capacity for deviance was there. He owned a Zodiac brand watch.
A literal watch with the crosshair symbol on the face that his mother gave him.
It's unbelievable. And he allegedly made comments to a friend about hunting people using a flashlight taped to a gun and calling himself Zodiac. This was years before the crimes even started.
He fits the physical description, heavy set, glasses. He was in the area of Lake Berryessa the day of the attack with a bloody knife in his car, which he claimed was for killing chickens. It all lines up.
But here comes the science. The wall that the investigation always hits.
The forensic disconnect.
Exactly. When they checked Arthur Leigh Allen's fingerprints against the bloody prints found in Paul Stine's cab, no match. When they checked his handwriting, experts said it didn't match the letters.
And the DNA.
In 2002, they developed a partial DNA profile from saliva on the back of a stamp. It didn't match Allen. Now, people argue. Maybe he had someone else lick the stamps. Maybe the DNA was contaminated.
Right, there are always those questions.
But officially, the physical evidence clears the best suspect we have.
It's a paradox. You have a guy who looks like the killer, acts like the killer, wears the killer's watch, but the science says no.
And Allen died in 1992. He took whatever secrets he had to the grave. And since then, no other suspect has fit quite as well, despite that lack of a forensic match.
And the Zodiac himself just vanishes.
That's the strangest part of the profile. Serial killers usually don't stop until they are caught or they die. But the letters trailed off in the mid-70s. The attack stopped.
Why do you think that is?
There are theories. Maybe he died. Maybe he was locked up for a different crime. Or, and this is the most disturbing possibility to me, maybe he just felt he had won.
He got the fame.
He wanted to be the most famous criminal in America. By the mid-70s, he had achieved that. Maybe the game wasn't fun anymore because he had already beaten the house.
So here we are, 2026. The case is still open. We're still deep diving into it. Is there any real hope?
Investigators are still working it. The hope now lies in genetic genealogy, just like they caught the Golden State Killer. If they can get a clean enough sample, maybe from the back of a stamp, maybe from the rope at Lake Berryessa, they might be able to find a distant cousin and build a family tree.
It would be incredible to finally put a face to the monster.
It would. But we have to accept the possibility that we might never know.
You know, looking at all this, the scariest thing to me isn't the violence. It's the success of his plan. He wanted immortality. He wanted us to fear him and remember him half a century later.
And he succeeded. We're sitting here talking about him right now.
He really did. He got the movie, the books, the podcasts. But he managed to keep the one thing he refused to give up, his identity. He won the game.
It's a chilling reality. But maybe, just maybe, there's one more cipher waiting to be broken in a lab somewhere that changes everything.
That's where we're going to leave it for this deep dive. A mystery that is still waiting for its final piece.
Keep questioning the answers.
We'll see you on the next deep dive. Stay curious.